about I think we could show this video from the Vietnamese Keshe Foundation group. I'll just read about it first, perhaps, and see if you want to show it. They wrote, "Hello, Keshe team. Our Vietnamese group would like to contribute a way to obtain health data by using a simple Eastern medicine method. All of the below information is supplied by Vo Hyung Oi, one of the knowledge seekers, who is limited in English speaking but can read and write well. Therefore, the 2-minute video demonstration below has English subtitles to share with English-speaking brothers and sisters in the Keshe family," and so on. So he has a video, and I've got that. I can get that lined up here. And it's quite interesting, actually, I think, because we talk a lot in the various groups on how do we measure the results of, for example, the GANS testing for AIDS and so on that's going on. There are objective ways of measuring for doctors and so on, but this offers an alternate way, I think, that could be interesting. Let me just get the screen share set up here. And make it a bit smaller. Okay. And he goes on to, he's got an Excel spreadsheet that you can use and so on, but we'll get into that a little bit after actually having a look at the video, I think. Okay, so you should be able to see that there, I think, the first picture of the video. And hopefully the sound will come through. Let's give that a go.
Bắt đầu đi. Sau đây tôi sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn kiểm tra sức khỏe bằng phương pháp đo kinh lạc của y học cổ truyền.
I see we don't have the English subtitles in this version of the video. Okay, well, we'll just have to go with what we see here, and the idea what he's talking about, which is, let me just say that, which is the idea is the health data of the GANS by thermometer, and it's a simple method of Eastern medicine to measure the health effect of GANS on our body by using any baby thermometer to take the readings at 12 nerve points on our fingers and toes. You measure it before and after the GANS treatment to know your progress. So I'll just play through. It's a fairly quick video here.
Việt Nam. Để cho đơn giản thì chúng tôi đã đánh số ở đây từ 1, 2, 3, 4 cho tới 12. Đó theo thứ tự mà các bạn sẽ phải đo. Và vị trí những điểm cần đo thì tôi đã ghi chú trên hình. Đây là trên tay. Dưới này là vùng chân. Đó. Các bạn chú ý. Tôi sẽ đo mẫu cho các bạn một lần. Điểm đầu tiên. Sau đó tôi nhập cái số vào đây. Đó. Đó. Ứng với các vị trí đây là như tay trái, đây là vị trí 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Đấy. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Và với chân thì cũng tương tự như thế, chúng ta đo từ bên trái sang bên phải. Sẽ là 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Như trên hình. Ở chân người ta đo điểm này, điểm này. Điểm này, điểm này, điểm này.
I'm going to stop the video here and show the same video on YouTube where it does have the English subtitles, so we should be able to actually make more sense of it for those of us that don't know the Vietnamese language well. Okay, so let me just get that set up in the live stream here. It should go fairly quickly. There we go. Okay, and new screen share to this one. Okay, so I'll go back again, and so it should make hopefully a little more sense as we go along here with the English subtitles.
Rồi bắt đầu đi. Sau đây tôi sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn kiểm tra sức khỏe bằng phương pháp đo kinh lạc của y học cổ truyền Việt Nam. Để cho đơn giản thì chúng tôi đã đánh số ở đây từ 1, 2, 3, 4 cho tới 12. Đó theo thứ tự mà các bạn sẽ phải đo. Và vị trí những điểm cần đo thì tôi đã ghi chú trên hình. Đây là trên tay. Dưới này là phần chân. Đó. Các bạn chú ý. Tôi sẽ đo mẫu cho các bạn một lần. Điểm đầu tiên. Sau đó ta nhập cái số vào đây. Đó. Đó. Ứng với các vị trí đây là như tay trái, đây là vị trí 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Đấy. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Và với chân thì cũng tương tự như thế. Chúng ta đo từ bên trái sang bên phải. Trái là 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Như trên hình. Ở chân chúng ta đo điểm này, điểm này. Điểm này, điểm này, điểm này. Rồi quay lại bên chân này ta lại đo điểm này, điểm này. Đấy. Tương tự như thế thì ta sẽ ra được cái bảng kết quả như thế này. Đây là bảng kết quả đo, và qua cái tab bên này thì ta sẽ có cái kết quả kinh lạc, ta đo ra giá trị ở đây.
Okay, well, you can get the idea there of what they're doing with the measuring the temperature with the nerve points. So perhaps we can get the Vietnamese group to speak more about that. I don't know if there's any of them that are available to speak about that today. What do you think, Mr. Kesh, about that? Oh, I think I have to unmute you there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to see it. I know about these points, pressure points. I've looked at this with some other people before. We need them to explain to us the what they call the science behind it.
Yes. Okay, there's one other video we could have a look at from Castellazzi, Massimiliano from Italy, and this is on the it's a test, once again a test, but it's for the health pain pen, the Kesh Health Pain Pen test. And let me get that on the screen share here. Okay. There we go. So let's just play this through. It's a minute or two long, and it should be, I believe, sort of self-explanatory, although I'm not clear on the exact apparatus here. We've seen similar apparatuses before, but let's have a look at this one. Okay, and that's that one. So we've seen similar instrument that you can buy that has a disc on it that you can hold your hands around it or influence it in different ways, and it'll rotate. So I guess this is sort of the homemade version of that, but the paint pen seems to be influencing it is the main thing.
They have measured, I've seen it in some places, they have measured the flow of current in the pen, and it's around about 300 and something millivolts. We have done a what we call research and lab report. Very, very interesting is that the laboratory test for what we're trying to do that it shows the GaNs material are very conductive, and the conductivity is very high. This is very unusual for the water, the way it is reported. We released this report because it has application and implication in development of the new technology. So the interaction, why they move, now we can see, is totally dependent on the field flow. It's a magnetic gravitational field flow that on a DC you see this can go up to 300 millivolts. So it's a spread of the field energy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Not sure, is there anybody else that has a question at this point? How are we doing out there? There is one viewer. I'm not able to promote them because my promoting thing is not working properly. Vince, if you can promote them, that might work if there's enough room left on the panelists.
I had a question.
Go ahead, and who is it, please?
This is Steve from California.
All right, you did have a question I was going to ask for you there about the thalamus and so on.
Yeah, first, Mr. Keshe, could you clarify, based on what Paul said from Togo, because a couple of weeks ago you said that when we're consuming the waters of the GaNs, we should limit it to maybe a couple of tablespoons a day. How would it affect you if you consume, not like most of the water that you consume is plasma waters. Does that affect you in any way that?
Yes, it does. But don't forget, we are looking at the Togo case in general. You have to understand, if you go back to the teachings of some times ago, I explained the work of GANs. Very much the same as aspirin. Aspirin from up to 80, 100 is a blood thinner, and 300 or 400 milligram becomes a painkiller. We see the same process in plasma, in GANs state, liquid state. You use it to create a condition of body matching itself, or you create a condition to enforce. And with Togo is the enforcement. With 1 or 2 spoon is creation condition for the body to go back to its original. There you're trying to kill a germ. Here you're trying to balance a field. It's a big difference. Very, very big difference. We've seen the changes with the small is the same as what Togo is doing. He's literally covering all corners. But at the end of the day, body will only take what it's capable of to take and what it wants to take. But that's why I said we are watching this, because this is a huge change, and it literally changes the whole environment of the house, the body, internal, external. And with 1 or 2 spoon, we are not looking at change, but we're looking at bringing a balance in. That's the difference, and I still keep the recommendation to the same, because this is a trial we watch, and we will gather the knowledge. The process goes very much as we explained in agriculture, where when you feed the land or you water the land with the GANs, you don't actually water the land, that the energy of the CO2 is absorbed by the plant. You create what I call a greenhouse. You create a shield, that anything in that zone behaves like what you call a greenhouse effect. You create the environment. This is why when you use CO2 gas, water, or you use water which is energized with CO2, as we've seen with water agriculture, you actually can throw the greenhouse away if you're working on the cover. This is continuous presence and creating a condition. And we've seen this in agriculture very clearly. Do you want to stop sharing? I can explain. I explained this before in the teaching. What we see is when you, for example, drink the water, you affect only what is left to part of the body you want to control. When you drink, this thing is becoming too sensitive. When you drink and you wash and you use everything in the house, you create a shield, you create an atmosphere in the house. You look at the physicality changes. We look at what the environment brings in, which changes the balance. There is a new development which, as I said, we wait for the full scientific report on it, which we see we only want to change the specific characteristics in a specific part of the body to see the age changes, and we think we have found a solution to that we don't generalize. Where, for example, as I said, in farming, when you put, for example, a bottle of water in the water, or when you water the the land with CO2 gas is not the gas which touches the physicality counts. The gas creates a shielding effect. And the way it was produced, as I said, usually you have in the CO2 you have zinc oxide and you don't clean it properly, you always carry certain amount of amino acid. What you do, you create a field that doesn't matter what happens outside. These plants, the border plants growing in this green environment, or what you call magnetic field of the CO2, because going back to the pot where you produced zinc oxide or copper oxide with zinc and you produce CO2, you create a condition where the amino acid was on the top, the moisture is in the air, you have now created with the metals, with the CO2 which is there, creating condition of flow, a field flow, where the rapid growth or the extension on the growth will come from the amino acid, the food of the plant. So you create an environment, you don't feed the plant. And you look at it as CO2 in the water has become the fertilizer. No, never such a thing happens. And this is what we recommended to one of our agriculture people. You build a greenhouse and you put a dome on it. Now, with GANS technology, your greenhouse is the burden, is the blocker of the growth. Because now the amount of air which can lead to creation of protein, which is the food of the plant, is restricted by physical barrier. So when you understand that even the plants absorb protein from the environment of their existence that allows them to grow, you understand it's how we condition, what environment we create, in what size and where, which affects the process. This is what we suggested to the people. That's why we see people who use the CO2 or nanomaterials in open farm, their harvest goes crazy. They produce so much because now they have created what I call gravitational magnetic shield, which is due to the way they started the production of CO2, absorbs continuously like the protein on top of the water, but this time the protein continuously comes on the leaves. So the leaves receive, as part of the digestion system, the protein they need. And they receive more than they actually need. So they grow more, they create more fruit. And you look at it that, oh, we water with the CO2 becomes the fertilizer. No, the reality is you change the environment. And in this environment, you find out a lot of parasites and other things cannot exist. This is what I call about changing, understanding the totality. And the beauty of it is, this shielding, this greenhouse, makes the whole vegetation immune to temperature difference, to heat of the place and everything else. And the beauty with it is, you can cultivate on it year after year. The GANS will not die, the effects of it will be there. In the coming months, we test this in agricultural land and we report it to you. It's the same. When you take a little, you try to affect directly a certain amount, certain position. When you, the virus of the HIV, it's, in a way, Paul is forcing it. where with a small amount, you create a different condition and you allow it to happen. And we see now very, very small amounts, very small amounts used in the right way can give a faster results and much more effective results. But as I said, the data is to come and then we release it. And this time, the research is done in conjunction with scientists who will announce very soon the expand the Keshe Foundation research team. Hopefully within next few weeks we make this announcement. The Keshe Foundation research support team will increase to about 1,000 people worldwide. Arrangement has been made, understandings, so we have signed agreements, and these are cream of the scientists worldwide. We are opening what we call in conjunction with number of government center of excellence for plasma technology.
So my question that I wanted to ask was that I created the GANs of the thalamus with the intention of changing the ethos on this planet, and
you're looking at the wrong end. Why are you looking at the thalamus? Let's see your point of view. Let's see if we understand.
You mentioned in the past that the soul resides in the center of the brain, and that this small.
A lot of you assume it's thalamus.
Okay.
Okay, it's your assumption. I didn't say that.
Okay.
And the strange thing is, it has no physicality. It's a hollow space.
But I was looking at the area that surrounds the hollow space, perhaps the fields of the RNA are within the thalamus. And that by creating the GANs of the thalamus, I could create the cobalt, iodine, or the cesium spectrum to go to the next step.
As I always say, try it, why not?
And that's what I'm doing.
And
perhaps I'm looking for confirmation to see if I'm going down the right path.
We are always right. Learn something and I keep on going. We are all right according to what we'll understand at the end of it. Nobody is wrong with plasma technology. It's just understanding what condition we created and where does that condition fit into.
Okay.
And how we apply it. None of us, nobody is wrong. That ethos of what you do is wrong, it shouldn't be. I always say, you do it even on the winding of the coil. You do it your way. What we're going to learn from it is important. Not who is right because I did it and you did it. I stacked 4 and you stacked 2, I'm better than you. It's what condition we achieve counts. What does it bring? Or does it bring something we don't see and we say it's wrong, but in fact we have created something that we didn't know? This is the beauty of this technology. It's the beauty of understanding the essence of creation. There is always a solution, and it's us to find out this solution fits to what question and what can it solve. None of us is wrong. Nobody has been wrong. I hear so many people say, don't do this, don't do that. I opposed vigorously with Dr. Elia Kostova using a needle injection for a human body. That was because of the transfer of energy, rapid transfer of energy. And if you want to do it with anything else, if you understand the energy transfer is dangerous. It's highly, our body cannot transfer a AC/DC program into it so rapidly. And it can cause havoc, it can cause a lot of problems. And even that you can use if you understand what you're doing and understand the consequence of the use. I explained this to a group of people. Do you know what's the difference making a steak and making a kebab? Very simple. With a steak, you have the fields of the flame coming from outside, trying to penetrate what they can penetrate. Why, when you make a meat on the skewer, a metal one, you find a different taste, different cooking? Because the metal transfers the heat directly right into the center of the meat. You're cooking from two sides. The process is different. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. In changing things, in using things, none of us wrong, as long as we understand the process. A lot of people like a steak, a lot of people like kebab on the steak. And it tastes totally the same, it's different. Because one we seal on one side, one we cook from both sides. We just make a donut of it. But we don't look at it that way. The heat transfer is through the metal internally. You make a, what they call it, meat with a piece of wood, which the heat transfer is 0, and eat it, and put one with a metal stick and put one on the fire and cook it side by side. And then you'll see the difference, and then you understand. It's the same with what you're delivering into and how you're delivering it. And none of us is wrong, but understanding the problem starts creating, because we do not understand full totality of it. And at this time of moment, a lot of people don't. Very easy. You look at the new data. There is the guy who's putting the pictures out on the internet. I just explained a few minutes ago. Pen, the health pen delivers 300 millivolts. You can change it to deliver 700 millivolts. They change it slightly in different format, it'll deliver 10 millivolts. And now you put this in the body of the man, insert it, and then you deliver such energy into the cells. It's horrendous. Where it's outside, the body takes what it likes. It has the environment to dissipate it into. It's a big difference.
Yeah, I just thought by using the thalamus I could replicate the condition to produce the cobalt and the iodine that we were looking for, that didn't come from an element.
Can I ask which animal you're using?
The sheep.
Would you like to see your people going bah, bah?
Yes, better than what they're doing right now.
Why not? We learn.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.
Mr. Keshe, isn't the pineal gland the one that connects us with our soul?
I don't know. You explain to us. And what's the reason?
Well, the Eastern beliefs say that the pineal gland is the third eye, and it's a connection with our soul or our spirit.
And?
Well, it's not the thalamus, which is nearby there, but it's a pineal gland, apparently, according to Eastern beliefs.
Everything on the observation of the field. It's like what they call the whales. They send the waves out to see where the food is. We do the same, but we have reduced creating the eyes. And whatever you want to call that is there, is part of our radar system. It's not just you can use it to feed the soul. It's another detection system which more or less, the more we become physical looking through the eye, because it's easier, uses less information to what you call to siphon. We don't use it, but it's there. But doesn't mean it's the only way to your eye, to your soul. It's the same as your eyes. It gives information directly to emotion. It's a radar system than anything else.
Going back to the agriculture, with the GANS water sprayed on the tea plants, could we produce tea during the winter time, the 12 months a year?
We think so. It's good to try. The Chinese report says it can be done.
Yeah,
we have seen. We've seen from the agricultural report that it looks that way.
Yes, last Saturday I was with a tea producer, and we're going to try this, test this out this next winter. We're going into summer right now, but we're going to test it all through next year.
Yeah, if you are doing it, make sure you test another land without it, far away from it. Then you see the real. This is what I've repeated before. I repeat again for those who do agricultural trial. Do not compare to the immediate land next to, because you still touch the field. If you are comparing, if it can survive or the harvest will be different, choose a piece of land 100, 200 meters away, that you have the minimum interaction. Don't forget, the farmer is the connector. That's one of the problems. The farmer which harvests or cuts the plant, what do you call it, trims it or looks after it, and he goes amongst it when it's CO2, and then he goes another 100 meters, which there was no, what do you call, CO2 used, but you still transfer the energy. We've seen this very recently. I think if our guys from Australia are there, I asked them to show this last week with the 2 pots in the fridge with the radish leaves. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. Are people from Australia online that they can show?
Yes, we'll be able to compare with all of the different plantations here. We got over 300 kilometers of plantations, tea plantations, so we'll be able to compare it all over the province here.
It will be very interesting to see how much you affect the next door and how much you affect the one next door to the next door, and get a feel of it, because your neighbors most probably get the benefit of your work too.
Yeah, the main idea is also to get rid of the use of Roundup, the Monsanto liquid, to get rid of all the pest plants that grow bile tea.
For that, you have to look into changes what each plant will live or will not live in. The process is that you got to see if you put this kind of GANs, you will encourage the growth of certain seed which before wasn't growing, but the ones which are growing are not growing. So only thing you do, you change. You have to find a balance. I've seen this happening, and one of the things which I was talking to, just 1 second please. The process is the farmers, a lot of what I call people which grow apples and pears, they don't make use of the land beneath of it. It's left alone. They don't cultivate. Very few do, and if they do it, very little for what you call for grazing by sheep. With this technology, you don't have that problem anymore. You can actually cultivate above and below. If you go back to what you call Roman gardens, you see this very clearly. In Roman gardens, especially when you go to Sorrento and that part of the country, south, or what you call it, southwest, you see these Roman gardens where they fence everything and they stack woods on top of woods, and they grow plant trees according to the height what they want to do. So at the lower level, for example, they have the lemons, and then the next level of the stack, and 2-3 meters high, they have the wine leaves and the wine, and then on top of it they grow very tall cherry trees. One creates a shadow for the other. But when you look on the ground, there is nothing, it's bare land. And they do this because they protect usually the lemon trees. It took us to understand, it's very scientifically done, even not a few thousand years ago. What happens if you put a lemon in a shadow and still growing, what they call limoncello, but they produce from it, has a totally different taste than if you have a full sun blast lemon. They relied on the environmental change. But now, if you put a GANS which covers all of them, you can plant underneath on the ground as well. They couldn't plant because there was no sun. It will be very interesting how the development, if the farmers start planting the suns in the bushland. They do that in Africa. In Africa you get mango trees, and between the mango trees they produce huge mangoes. They cultivate like a lemongrass. But nothing else grows. Can we change the GANS that by change of the GANS we allow different vegetation, different seasons to grow? It's very highly possible. And then it applies the same. Would we grow by changing GANS or putting GANS on the near the vegetation? We grow different what I call greens. We stop the ones which are bad, maybe we reduce the worst one. Or do we change the condition that in that environment only nothing grows? Because we create a condition where no amino acid can touch the land.
What if instead, yes, what if instead of spraying with GANS water, we put small pipes around the trunk with the GANS water with a bit of GANS? Would that be different?
What about the other way? Put your balls of GANS on top of the tree to absorb more from the top. That's where your food comes from. You're still on the old tradition, you think comes through the ground. No, it doesn't. The food comes from amino acids from the above. You'll hang it on the tree like Christmas, balls.
We could put a pipe all along the lines of tea trees, so
yeah,
do that effect.
More or less, why not? The thing is, it's a new technology, and there is no limitation. As I said, none of us is wrong, and on the other hand, is to maximize the harvest. Would it change the taste? Now that we grow CO2 GANS, or if you put a slightly 10% zinc into it and 20% copper into it, we'll get a sweeter lemons, or would we get a bitter apple? I told you, this knowledge will keep millions of people happy for millions of years and busy in trying to find out how it works. And none of us.
Maybe we could have Christmas trees that last forever with GANs balls on them.
Yeah.
Everlasting Christmas trees.
Yeah.
That could put a lot of people out of business, but the business of cutting down trees is not the best in the world.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you don't cut the trees, what's going to happen to them? They cut themselves. They change.
But they grow and have a lifetime, though, in that case, before they cut themselves. Would you like to continue, Mr. Keshe, or should we wrap it up here, do you think?
Yeah, wrap it up, whatever it is.
There might be another question or two, but I'm not clear. There was a couple of people I promoted recently, but it's
I think today we taught enough if people understood what was taught.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding of the production of hemoglobin and the application of it is enormous. You will do this in a space if you want to extract unwanted field energies. Because sometimes when you absorb a huge amount of energy, it becomes a virus. If you extract it, you bring your own demise. So you need to do it in a slow rate, a slow pace, but do it in a way that doesn't change the characteristic of the humanity or the body.
There was a question from Umit that I should ask, which has to do with which patches should we use to handle burns and growing amputees. Amino acid of CO2, CH3, CuO2, and each in separated sealed patches. And which order is the best? Which comes to the bottom, the one that goes on the top, and so on. Is that something you'd like to address now, or is that...
Can you explain more?
Apparently, I believe it's her, she's just asking what do we use to handle burns and for amputees, or I guess amputated limbs. The amino acid of CO2, CH3, CuO2.
You cannot grow, it'll be very hard to grow old amputation. You can use CO2 GANs liquid for reducing phantom pain. You can produce copper oxide nano-coated GANs plate, a small pin, button size, to attach to the end of the amputation where it becomes like a semisphere, and literally drain all the information that it doesn't lead to phantom pain. You'll have no more phantom pain. In respect to burns, you have to understand the process, what you're trying to do, or you're creating environments that the 3 layers can repeat themselves backwards. The body is made of 3 layers of skin. So you need 3 layers of amino acid on the other side, which is on the top of the wound. Or you use 2, you allow what you want to be developed. Remember, the strongest is in the center. So the strongest patch has to be outside. The weakest patch has to be next to the skin. Because when the 2 strong on the different balance try to transfer energy, they feed the center, you get a rapid growth. The skin of the man is literally Ganser state dried. So it's very near to matter state, that's right.
Okay, I think there's pretty good clues there for that question.
Hello.
Who's this one?
Yeah, this is Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, Mr. Kesh, I have some question. One of European patients have mixed CO2 plasma liquid with coffee, and she is seeing double. What happened at this level? And I said to her to don't mix with coffee. So every time she mix CO2 plasma liquid with his coffee, she starts seeing double.
I don't know.
That reminds me of the joke, the patient comes into the doctor, doctor, I have this terrible headache, can you help me? I'll take these aspirin and go home and see if that helps. He comes in the next day, doctor, this headache, it just won't go away. I'll take this stronger aspirin and try that. The guy comes in the third day, still not helping, doctor, and the doctor says, so what are you doing before you're getting these headaches? Well, I'm banging my head against the wall. So sometimes the cure is not in the trying to come up with a fancy painkiller when it's you have to get at the root of the problem, I guess. I'm not sure if you got the joke there, but
I got the joke here, no
it
problem.
was funny years ago anyway.
The problem is what does this create in the vision level of the brain? You have to understand how does this affect the balance in one of the eyes in energy level. When you see double vision, you see two things. It means the ball of the eye in the line of the vision into the neural system sends the information slightly different than others, so you see the two. Our brain used to decide how much of the mixture is going to use, but this time we cannot. So most probably it affects the structure of the brain in the level of the sight, and that's what you see at double vision. People who have double vision, if you have experience with them, like with a back head injury on the level of the eye, they see double. And because one slightly moves to the other. And one of the ways they bring it back in line, they put like a curtain, you know, those blinds, slide blinds on one eye, different bandwidth to the other, and then they adjust the two to get used. So it creates a movement or a position in respect to the brain, in respect to the eyeball. So it doesn't move off the line of the neural system of the vision. Otherwise you don't see anything, you become blind in the eye, because it focuses on the wrong place, not on the neural. So what is done is most probably creates a pressure. One moves slightly forward to the other and you see two of the same.
It also depends on how strong they make the coffee, no? Not like the Arabs or the Italians, which make very strong coffee, or the Americans that just make a tepid coffee, very light coffee.
They say, do you know why the Turks have a curled up shoes? Try their coffee, everything turns backwards. So strong.
It turns their eyeballs all over the place.
It could be the Gans water itself could be strong as well, perhaps.
It's the Gans water which affects the position. Depends how they made it, most probably.
it'll strengthen the coffee almost certainly.
What is the effect of heat on ingesting Gans water is an interesting question too. If you take it hot water, it doesn't matter if it's hot water or cold water when you.
Don't think so. It's gas is temperature independent.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Here
life lives even in the coldest part of the planet and in the universe.
Here we're drinking a lot of mate, the green tea we have in this zone, and with hot water, and it doesn't change the characteristics. You acquire just the good stuff about the plasmatic water.
Okay, there's a couple people that are asking. Jalal says, I have a small question. Do we have time, Mr. Kesh, or shall we wrap it up?
A few minutes. It's nearly 1 o'clock.
Okay, Jalal, and then Azar is asking if they can ask a question too. So we have those two people. If we can wrap it up with them, that would be good. Either one of you, let me see, I think, Azar still has to be promoted, and there we go.
Good morning, Mr. Gash.
Good morning, Azar.
My question is on your book, The Origin of the Universe, page 13. When you talk about antimatter, which is a stronger field, which is actually our soul, when they become, they loosen up, unwind, and they become lesser field. I mean, weaker field, they become materialized, but then the existence of that, it depends on other magnetic fields that make it to exist. So the question is, the 500 people that hold all the control of the humanity, the existence also depend on us, because without us they cannot live. For that reason, they also know that's the truth, and that's why they cannot get rid of everybody, because they know the existence depends on other people. Am I right?
I prefer not to say much, because it's us who has given them the right to abuse us. It is not them to be stronger. I call it British policy. British policy in the West and the rest of the world has been very simple. We are little, but we bring submission through blood. If you look all the British system, even in present time, in different war zones wherever British are involved with their American soldiers, mass murder is the rule of the game. You kill so much that the people get fed up of blood, and by tyranny and murder, you frighten people to submission. Is that the 500, or is us who accepts to take the seat of let them do what they like to do? I can't see it anymore. It needs 1 or 2 people to literally bring the 500 into submission. You got to realize, I always say, these what you call 500, they're as strong as long as they sit in the throne of what they are. You bring them to the point where they feel their own action, they become as timid as us. So it's us who allows it, and it's us who puts it through that they can do what they like. So there is no 500, there is no 5,000. It's us who allows the abuse. It's a very, very, very straightforward. Very straightforward. They do this with us all the time. We accept it because it's the only way we know. But the position is, are they 500? Or are they 5,000? Or are they 1? Or is it one who does everything else according to be? This I was explaining to somebody very recently. The structure of British system, nobody has ever understood. And I explained this before. And one island has brought more or less brought the whole planet into submission to do whatever out of total fear and murder. Because the British system is very, very simple. The simplicity of it is what carries it through. You have a government which gets elected for people every 4 years. But you have monarchy, which is the owner or the ruler of the government, of the nation. Government is for public, nation is for the monarchy. Government plans 4-year plan, we come and change taxes, few peanuts for here and there, we put roads or whatever. But the monarchy who actually owns everything is for 200 years ahead. Who's going to be, whose son's going to be the next president, the next kings? What do we have to do that we have an income? It's a family which needs to be fed to keep them in power. So they do any mayhem. In the house they are perfect, outside they carry mass murders. So have we allowed one family, one person, or as a council, what we call a privy council, plan for next 200 years, and then we follow every day with the government, we hope we do whatever we might do. All the nations which are not monarchy run have this problem. That they're only planned and then the next 4, and some things could be extended to 10 years, 15 years, but that's as far as they can go. But British monarchy is planned for next 150, 200 years. So is it one person who's deciding everything which happens around here and around everywhere else through total mass murder? Are we looking at who is going to be, what they're going to be, or when they become rich, they are forced to accept the condition, or when they become prominent, accept the condition to be part of? So, or do we need to just raise the level of their soul and you find out they have no more to say? And the second one is the best choice. This way you don't fight it, you let their soul to fight their physicality, and it's so easy, and nobody has ever done it. And nobody wants to do it, because let it be. Look at the history of British monarchy in past 500 years. It's been total submission by blood. We killed so much till it's done. And before they had a few soldiers, now they have a 300 million soldiers called United States of America. Because British gave freedom to the black. In the Ghent Treaty negotiated by the Russians between the Americans and the British, British never gave freedom to the Americans, to the white Americans. They were allowed to rule. And now we see the same process. American nation, the white American nation, has not got the freedom. They're still, they're more or less a slave to the contract, Ghent contract which was signed. They're allowed, they call it 4th of July, but that was all we decide to run our terms 4 year, 8 years. The government is still monarchy in UK, and that's why we see in the present wars, Americans do all the aggression and everything else, but all the cream is corrected by British. Every position of the war you look, you will see, but it's not transparent to a lot of people, you don't see it. But for people who are educated in the background, we see it very clearly. Look at the Iraq war. Americans took Baghdad and the rest and the allies. British moved into Basra, nothing else, and there was no problem. Basra is a port of export of oil. We export 4 million, we don't pay a cent. They took the cream out of us. Look at the situation in Afghanistan. Thousands of American soldiers and allies got killed. British moved into Helmand. That was the whole policy, moved to Helmand. Production of opium increased 30 times. Where does it go? Who gets financed by it? Who receives the benefit of it? Why only British are allowed to be in Helmand? The social structure have not understood geopolitics of United Kingdom. Look at Libya. Who went to the central bank and took $140 billion of gold? Why is not added to the assets of British government? Is added to the assets of British monarchy. You don't find where is this $140 billion of gold which shipped from central bank of Libya into United Kingdom. Doesn't show as a national asset because it doesn't belong to the nation. It belongs to the monarchy. Same situation in Syria. Is the monarchy who's after the resources because it fits the others who are around to fit in. And who's losing? The soldiers, Americans, because this is part of the contract. They never gave freedom to the white Americans. They allow them, like British monarchy, to rule. The only thing they don't do, they don't have by name the king as the head of state. But in fact, they are foot soldiers. Look at the recent past, all the military motions. British has created a huge army called United States, run through London. And now, do we blame the 500 or do we blame the one? Look at the next hotspots where the Americans are running. See what's in it in the background for British. What are they looking for to gain? Very easily you see the politics. Because the nation plans for short-term government. You're happy to have a prime minister, you get 10 cents short. They plan how to have an income for next years, 100 years. Because this money which comes in, it becomes the backbone of their rules and their monarchy and their running. British monarchy is a perfect illustration of rules, if you understand it. They established the United Nations and they carry more or less 65% of the votes.
And then they have Canada and Australia as reservists.
But the thing is, you have 2 veto votes out of 5. They can veto anywhere. Because Americans veto for them or they veto themselves for themselves. That's why we get into all these wars and killing, and the Chinese and the Russians can't accept. You got to see the truth behind the structure. It's the only nation which has 2 voting rights in United Nations. And usually one suspends and the other 2 and the other one is brought in and they get what they want. It is a very, very, very well organized one-man band, one family. And this is why the British monarchy finds a lot of conflict with the Iranian regime. Iranian present regime is set copy of the British. Religious leaders, they can do what they like, and the government elected 25 years. And the religious leaders plan the long term. Ahmadinejad didn't plan the nuclear proliferation and the work of Iran. It was set by Ayatollah Khamenei. From the day he came into power, he could see the power of nuclear. And he guided it through, doesn't matter who was the prime minister. And this goes exactly as a match to what they've set up, because they understood the process. 2 different armies, one you call the Iranian army and one you call Sepah. British army and the American army, still the same, 2 different but the same. It's the first time ever a match has been set against them, and that's why they find it as, because now it can become a force. Understand the geopolitics, then you see how easily things done. How look what's been in the present wars, and who does it benefit in which way, and why is always American at the end of the wars? What's in it for British monarchy? Who collects the loot is the boss. You export 3 million barrels of oil a day, you don't pay nobody, you have $100 per day, and you're doing it since 10 years. And nobody knows who sells what. And American lost all the bodies, British collected all the loot.
Is it gonna end soon?
Pardon?
Is it gonna end soon?
You decide.
I think it's time for the tooth for the tooth, eye for the eye.
It's the time to elevate. That was the old way.
Yes, but this elevation, I don't think as we wanted is gonna go that way. I think the way
You see, you always, as you wanted. It depends what you gave on what condition to bring peace to humanity, or for you to find the satisfaction of your own, what I call ego. It is very easy to do it if you want.
So that's what I'm trying to do. That was my intention.
Let's see how far, how good we become at it to elevate the others. But I taught you something, if you understood today, that it can do it very fast.
the hemoglobin.
Shall we call it a day?
Thank you.
I think so, Mr. Kesh.
Very much indeed. Thank you to all those who participated. We try to make it more than the others, and we teach in between. But the level of teaching goes very high from now on, step by step. There are a couple of things I received a reminder to explain to you. As we are developing to move away from hybrid generators to solid state and wireless system, we'll release the technology in next few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, because the hybrid failure would have been very high, and the solid state gives us the chance to be able to deliver a permanent solution. Hybrid system was bulky. Now that we're developing the solid state, it brings changes in our production and delivery. So you'll have a delay by about 3-4 weeks maybe before we do it. But we'll show it in public. We don't say when. We're expecting to show it very soon. That you see it, and then we have to put it through the production process of changing it, because the hybrid had the dynamic motors and it had compressors, and the new version is slightly different. And at the same time, as I said, when you go to solid state, you have to understand the process of wireless transmission, which we're trying to do it all in one go, that we don't need to change again. So we'll wait for that to be done. So next, those of you waiting for generators to be done in October, you just gotta wait a few more weeks to more or less that we organize the change of the production into a solid state.
There was a question, Mr. Kesh, from Mojira Jan about the wireless generator and so on, about October 20th, which you just answered. But he's asking, or she, about how about in India? Can we join them in this in these countries that are coming together with wireless generators?
We're trying to sort something out. As I said, we are joining a very large what I call research center operation, and this brings a lot of advantages and what they call new knowledge in. We have to understand how we're going to utilize this new addition, which might come in the next few weeks, and then we'll run it totally different way. We have seen people who come and learn and just go and abuse it. So as we learn, the habit of a man hasn't changed. We change it in a way that it benefits the whole humanity. The other point is respect to Ghana conference. We wish you all the best with the conference and those of you who attended. And hopefully in the next week or 2 weeks, we'll see the feedback from the conference. Thank you very much for today. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, everybody in the background.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Very good. Okay, that'll end the 141st Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, October 13th, 2016. And as ever, thank you everybody for attending and for participating and all that. Okay, I'll end the live stream.